Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be showing you guys how I made this simple danshiki bubu dress with a front placket. And it also has two pockets in front, as you can see. So I achieved this style using just 2 yards of Ankara fabric and less than half yard of crepe fabric. So this video is very detailed, very beginners friendly, and very easy to understand. So guys, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, share with your loved ones. You can also follow me on Instagram, so with Mediva. So let's jump right into the video now. So for this dress, I made use of 2 yards of Ankara fabric and half yard of crepe fabric. So depending on you, if you want yours to be bigger than mine, you can make use of 3 yards of Ankara fabric. So I have my other materials here. So the first thing we're going to do is to fold up the fabric. So I've gone ahead to fold my fabric and I'm cutting both the front and the back panels together. So the front panel is 1 yard and it's in a fold of 2. That is 36 inches in a fold of 2. And the back panel is also 1 yard in a fold of 2. So if you're working with 3 yards, that means you're going to have 1.5 yards for the front panel and 1.5 yards for the back panel. And then for the length of my dress, I made use of 37 inches and then I added 2 extra inches to the base for folding the base. I have 39 inches for the length here. So the first thing we want to do now is to come over to the closed angle of the fabric, the folded angle, and mark the neckline. So for the wideness of the neckline, I made use of 4 inches. And then for the depth of the back panel neckline, I made use of 1.5 inches. And the front panel, since it's a V-shaped neckline, I made use of 7 inches. So I'll just go ahead to connect the points together. So the first one is the back panel neckline. And the second one, I'll just use my ruler to connect it this way to form the front panel neckline. So when cutting out, I'm going to cut out the back panel neckline first before I cut out the front neckline. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to take my shoulder to my hip measurement. So the top of the fabric is the shoulder line. So from my shoulder to my hip line is 23 inches. So I'm going to come down by 23 inches and just mark it out there. And then I would use my ruler to extend the line horizontally. So after extending, this is what it looks like. So after marking the hip line, let's go ahead to place our armhole measurement. So I'll come down to this open angle and just come down by 1 inch to form my shoulder slope. And then I'll take my ruler and connect it down to meet the neck width this way. So from that point, I'm going to take my round armhole measurement divided by 2, which is 9 inches. And then I added 2 extra inches to it, making 11 inches. This is just for the ease on the armhole area. So that's my 11 inches there. I'm going to just draw in the line a bit. I'm going to draw it in a bit. So this is what we have. So right now, I'll come over to my hip line that I've marked and I'll place my round hip measurements divided by 4, which is 11.5 inches. I'll add 3 extra inches for ease and 1 inch for seam allowance, making 15.5 inches. So at this point, if you're making use of 1.5 yards of fabric for the front and back panel, you can make your own inches, maybe 4 or 5 inches more than mine. So I'll go ahead to connect that line now down to meet the armhole line this way, forming a straight line. So it's a dashiki, you don't need to shape it, you just draw it out straight. And then from the hip line, I'll connect the line straight down to meet the full length of my dress, of my bubu dress this way. So this is what we have after connecting. So I'll come over to this armhole area and just curve it out a bit so that it won't appear too sharp. I'll curve it out this way. So this is basically all for the danshiki. I'll go ahead now to cut it out. So I'm going to start cutting from the back neckline and then I'll take out the shoulder slope and go ahead to cut out the rest of the bodies. So when I'm done cutting, I'll separate the two pieces and I would cut out the neckline of the front panel. So after opening up, this is what it looks like. This is the back panel and this is the front panel. So we'll set the back panel aside while we'll start working on the front panel. So the first thing we want to do on the front panel is to draw out the placket. So I'm going to get my crepe fabric and just lay it this way, and then I'll place my front panel on it this way. I'll place the neckline on it this way. So you can use your pins to hold down the Ankara fabric to the crepe fabric, and then use your chalk to just trace out the neckline carefully this way. So after tracing out, this is what it looks like. So on the shoulder area, I'll take my tape rule and measure 3 inches, and then I'll add 1 inch to it for the folding because I'm going to fold the edges of the crepe fabric. So I'll measure 4 inches from the neck width this way. I'll do the same thing for the other side, and then I'll connect it to meet the neck width, forming a slant. I'll connect it this way. So all we're trying to achieve now is the shape of the placket that we want. And then for the length, I'll come down by 16 inches. But I later made use of 20 inches because after cutting, I realized the placket was a bit short for this style. So I'll mark the same 16 inches on this side. So you can decide whatever length of placket you want for yours. But I later made use of 20 inches for the length of mine. So I'll just go ahead to connect the points. So I'll just go ahead now to cut it out. I'll cut out the neckline this way. So after cutting out, remember there is a bit of slant on one side of the placket. So I'm going to take my tape and just come down by 10 inches on one side, and then I'll slant it down to meet the other edge. So you can decide to use any design you want for your own placket. It doesn't have to be this exact type. And then I'll go ahead to cut it out. After cutting out, this is what it looks like. So at the end of the day, this is what the placket is going to look like in front of the dress. So I'll go ahead now to iron stay on this crepe fabric to give it a bit of weight. And when I'm done doing that, I'll show you guys what it looks. So after I iron my stay to my fabric, this is what it looks like. So I also went ahead to fold in the edges of my fabric because I'm going to sew it down on the front panel of my Ankara fabric so that it's going to come out very neat. So like I said earlier, I already adjusted the length of my placket. So on this longer angle, I have about 19 inches there after folding in, and on the shorter angle I have 16 inches there. So I'll go ahead and flip my front panel to the wrong side, and then I'll place the right side of my placket facing the wrong side of my fabric, just as you can see me doing in the video. Right side of your placket facing the wrong side of your fabric. So I'll just go ahead and arrange it out this way, and then I'll use my pins to secure it down. Just pin it all the way around it. So after pinning, I'm going to take it to my sewing machine and stitch it all the way around the neckline using 1/2 inch. I'll stitch it all the way around the neckline this way. So after stitching all the way around it, I'm going to make small notches on it before I turn it over. So when I'm done doing that, I'll show you guys what it looks like and the next thing to do. So after stitching down, this is what it looks like. So before I turn it over, I'm going to show you guys how to notch it. You just go ahead and cut out the seam this way to make sure it doesn't get to the point where you stitch down. So just form small notches all the way around it, just the way you see me doing in the video. So after notching, I'll go ahead to flip over to the right side. So I'll flip the plackets to the right side of my Ankara fabric this way. Then I'll just go ahead to arrange it out very well. So after flipping over, this is what it looks like. So I'll go ahead to iron it out very well on the neckline area so that it becomes very flat, and so that the Ankara fabric will not be coming out when I wear it. So I'll iron it out very well, like make sure you iron it very well, and then I'll stitch down the edges all the way around it. That was why I folded it at the beginning, to make it very easy. So I'll stitch it all the way around it. Make sure you use a matching thread so that it won't be visible. Stitches all the way down, and I'll also iron it when I'm done doing that. So I'll finish up the neckline of the back panel as well. So I have cut out a piece of fabric I'll be using to do that. So I'll just place it right sides facing each other this way, and then I'll join it together using 1/2 inch, and then I'll turn it over to the other side when I'm done, and then stitch it down. I'll fold it in and stitch it down. So when I'm done doing that, I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after I ironed out the neckline, this is what it looks like. So you can see that how flat the neckline looks now, and the Ankara fabric is sitting perfectly at the back, like it's no longer coming out in front. Just take your time to iron yours out very well and you'll have a very neat finishing. So the next thing we want to do now is to fix the pocket. So I have my pocket cut out already, and I'm gonna head to fold in the upper part of the pocket. I folded in twice and I stitched it down, and I also folded the edges this way. I used my iron to fold it down to make attaching to my fabric very easy. So this is what we have. And for the dimension of my pocket, I have 8 inches by 8 inches. 8 inches by 8 inches, as you can see, but you can decide to use any size for yours. So right now I'm going to just go ahead and take my tape rule and measure 20 inches from the shoulder point. Take 20 inches all the way down, and then I'll mark that point, and then I'll come over to the center front. This is going to be center front, and then I'll come down to that 20 inches point I marked. So from that center point now, I'm going to take 4 inches on both sides. So from that center point, I'll take 4 inches on both sides to fix my pocket. I'll mark 4 inches here, and then I'll place the first pocket from that 4 inches that I marked. So we are doing this to make sure that the space between the pockets are equal. So from that same center point, I'm going to take another 4 inches to the other side for the second pocket. So after I stitch down the pockets, I'm going to take my back panel. I've also finished up the neckline like I said earlier. I've turned it over using the same Ankara fabric as you can see, and I ironed it out. So I'm going to place it on my front panel, right sides facing each other. I'm going to match them right sides facing each other. This way, I'll match the neckline areas too. And then I'll take it to my sewing machine and just stitch it down. I'll join the shoulder areas together using 1/2 inch. Stitch it all the way down on that side, and then I'll come over to the other side and also stitch it down. So you can hold it down with your pins first before you stitch it, depending on what you want. So after I'm done doing that, I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. So after joining the shoulders together, this is what it looks like. And I also went ahead to stitch down the pockets, as you can see. So the next thing we're going to do is to finish up the sleeve before we join the sides together. So because my sleeve is very short, I'll be using a fabric to turn it over. You can see the length of my sleeve. I don't want to fold it in, so I'm just going to place this fabric on it, right sides facing each other, and then I'm going to stitch it down using 1/2 inch to my sleeve. But if you have a longer sleeve, you can just go ahead to fold it in. So after stitching down, I'm going to turn it over to the wrong side and fold it, then stitch it down. So I'm just turning it over like I did for the neckline, like I'm using a bias strip. So I'll stitch it down on that side. So I'll put the same thing for the other side of the sleeve. I'll stitch it down and turn it over. So if your sleeve is longer, you can just fold it in. You don't have to use this method. So when I'm done doing that, I'm going to fold the dress this way, right sides facing each other. After finishing the sleeve, I'm going to go ahead and close up the sides. So from the armhole area, I'm going to take 1 inch seam allowance that I added and stitch it all the way down to the full length of my dress. So after stitching, I'm going to fold the lower part of my dress as well. So I'll do the same thing for the other side. I'll close it up using 1 inch seam allowance all the way down. So when I'm done doing that, I will show you guys what it looks like. So don't forget to also fold in the base of your dress. I'll fold it in, then I'll show you guys what it looks like. So after closing up the side, this is what we have, and I also went ahead to finish up the base of my dress. I folded in twice and I stitched it all the way around it. So before you turn over, make sure you notch this sleeve area. As you can see, this is going to prevent the fabric from squeezing when you turn over to the right side. So just make small notches on that curved area before you turn over. So let's go ahead to turn it over to the right side. So after turning over, this is what it looks like. So you can see how the sleeve area came out even without ironing. You can see how neat it looks without anywhere looking squeezed. So this is the other side of the sleeve. You can see how it came out even before ironing. So this is where we'll be ending this video for today, guys. So you can see how easy it is to make and how detailed this video is. So don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, share with your loved ones, and I'll see you guys in my next video.